Because when you lose something, you get a little bit that way. All right? You were kind of chill and paying attention to who knows what and relaxed and manana, and now you're turning into a kind of agitated, focused intensity. And Jesus tells us not one, not two, but three back-to-back parables to get us in touch with the story. So the second one goes like this. That's the story of the first one. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. Every now and then, you'll hear people talk about the good old days. Ever hear people talk about the good old days? I would not want to have lived any time before air conditioning in South Georgia. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
All right. The old sitting out on the porch and sipping tea and hoping that fan will cool me off, it wouldn't cut it for me. All right, get me some air conditioning. And I often find myself saying, what a time to be alive. And it is a great time to be a teacher. It is a great time to be a teacher because the internet makes information so accessible. I was doing a study some time back, and I think the study was actually about the Christmas story, the shepherds in Bethlehem and all that story. And I stumbled into this picture of, and the caption said that this is actually some real life shepherds who still watch their sheep outside of Bethlehem even today. And you'll notice that they have them around inside a rock wall. And the caption describes that this is a public place. It's not owned by the shepherd. So it's like a public park. And so the shepherd, and you notice Israel looks a lot like New Mexico. It doesn't look like Georgia. It rains 8 inches a year where I live, which is about what it rains in Israel. Consequently, there's not a lot of stuff growing. Okay? Consequently, if you want to raise sheep, you're going to have to wander all over the place to find something to get them enough to eat. Okay? So you're going to wander all over the place, but then you want a place to keep them at night. And so they have these public places, these rock walls where you can go in there, and you notice there's only one door there. And you remember the passage where Jesus taught about, I am the door, and I lay down my life for the sheep and all that? That's what this is talking about. And you can find this stuff online today, and what a time to be alive. It raises a question. Surely the shepherd would have left the sheep in a place like that, right? Go back one side, up one side, not forward, but back one slide. And look at our verse again. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and he loses one. Does he not leave the 99 where? You take them in one of those enclosed places? No. Why? Because when you lose something, you go nuts. You go crazy and you do stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, 2 slides down. Next story is a story about a woman. Suppose a woman has 10 silver coins. Another what it's time to be alive moment is another resource we have as teachers is there's a gazillion sermons out there. You can either listen to or read if you want to. And one of the sermons I listened to about this somewhere along the line pointed out that a woman back in the day with 10 silver coins, I didn't know this, but she was a wealthy woman. All right, so and I like when I preach and teach, I like to get y'all to use sound effects. All right, so I think back in the day they would have had the feeling that when Jesus told the story, when he said 10 silver coins, everyone would have said, woohoo! So let's try that, all right? Here's a woman with 10 silver coins. All right, and then when she said the next line, she loses one, I want you all to go, oh. All right, so let's try that again. Here's a woman with 10 silver coins, but then she loses one. All right, so that's kind of the feeling here. This would be a little bit like, I might tell you a story, Warren Buffett, and I don't know how much money he's got, but let's suppose he had $100 billion. So you just round numbers. And then let's suppose, the stock market crashes, and I don't know if you notice this about the stock market, but it will gradually go up, very gradually up, and then down all at once. And that's why it makes big news. And big crash after September 11th, all of that loss was made up in about 3 months. But that didn't make the news, and most of us not aware of that because it goes up so gradually, it's not anything big news. But anyway, it tends to go down all at once. And so let's suppose Warren Buffett has $100 billion, and in one day there's a 10% correction in the stock market, and in one day, Warren Buffett, imagine that he were to lose $10 billion, and now he's only got $90 billion. Would you feel sorry for him? Oh, thank you. All right. Not so much, okay? This story would have had something of that feeling. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but it would have had something of that feeling back in the day. Here's a woman with 10 silver coins. Let's try that again. Here's a woman with 10 silver coins. All right, so good for her. Wow, she's got 10 silver coins. She's not worried about what's going to happen to her, how she's going to make for breakfast, or is she going to make the house payment. She's set. Here's a woman with 10 silver coins, but she loses one. Oh, all right, but you know what? The other day she's doing okay. So the thing for her to do would be to think, you know what? I got investments, and I'll make this money back, and it's all going to be okay. Notice that it's not what she does. What does she do? She lights a lamp, she sweeps the house, and she searches carefully. And for how long does she search for that coin? What if it takes a long time? What if she got other stuff to do? None of that matters, because when you lose something, you go nuts. You kind of lose your mind. When I was growing up, I was constantly getting lost. This next slide has a picture of me when I'm about a year and a half old. And if you will look very carefully, you'll find that my dad has me on a leash. Can you see the leash there? Like you might put a dog on a leash, and it might seem a little cruel to you, but I was constantly wandering off and getting lost. And when I was a little older, 4 years old, I'd been around the world a time and a half by the time I was a year and a half old, a missionary's kid. And when I was 4 years old, we're taking a plane trip, and got on the plane. Plane's backed off from the gate. We're out on the tarmac. Engines running. We're ready to go. My mom looks around and notices one kid is missing, me. Okay. And so, anyway, she calls the flight attendant and explained to her that we're having a little home alone moment. We need to turn the flight around and go back and get me. I don't know how much you know about airplanes. I've flown 2 million miles on American Airlines alone. And so I can tell you that although airplanes are sometimes late, they're trying real hard, okay? And it's actually very important to them. They have all kinds of scorekeeping mechanisms I can go into, but I won't here. But at any rate, this lady is explaining this to my mom and saying, you know what, I'm really sorry you lost your kid. But it's not really our problem. And our problem is we have a schedule to keep, and we got to get to Manila, and who knows, those are the loosey-gooseier days, and certainly in the Philippines it was. Maybe you could take the next flight back, or, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but you could call somebody, but our deal is we got to get to Manila. And this story may be a little bit unbelievable to you because you do not know my mom, but if you did know my mom, it would make perfect sense. She spoke truth to them, and they did turn the plane around. Went back and got me. And just by the way, if you ever call the airlines and they say they can't make a change, just say thank you, hang up, and call back again and ask them again. Because a lot of times their rules are so complicated they don't even know what they are. So at any rate, there's a little word for the wise right there. But at any rate, one other time I was there